All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon, and man, wow, words leave the mouth of Gervonta "Tank" Davis. It really took me back. He said at this point in time, to promote his fights, he does not need Floyd Mayweather Jr. There had been speculation a few years back that these guys might be looking, Gervonta might have been upset and ready to get out of there. I'm not quite sure if that's the case here though, but let's talk about it in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. Hey, I would greatly appreciate it. Before we get into the subject matter of the video, make sure you hit the like button if you like the video, especially if you watch it to the end. Also, make sure that you subscribe to the channel. If you're not already subscribed, hit the bell icon. It really does go a long way towards making the channel grow, and I would greatly appreciate it. We've got we've got good fights coming up. I won't say really big, but good fights coming up this weekend between Gervonta "Tank" Davis, who is the WBA regular champion, and Isaac Cruz. And also Devin Haney will be fighting Jojo Diaz, which I think may be a little bit more of a competitive fight, but it is a DAZN fight. The Gervonta Davis is a pay-per-view fight coming up this weekend. And so they have a lot of press stuff going on for all of these. And Gervonta Davis said something in a press conference when he was asked that I thought was really interesting, man. He actually said a lot of things, and the way that I've been watching him over the last couple, pretty much over the last year or so is really starting to impress me more and more with Gervonta Davis. He's asked where Floyd Mayweather Jr. is, and he said, look, Floyd Mayweather Jr., Floyd's not here because I don't need Floyd. And he said, I don't need Floyd to promote my fights. Floyd understands that. I got groomed to the point where I am right now, where I can handle all these questions myself and I can do all this stuff myself. So I really don't need Floyd to promote my fights anymore. Right now, as we know, Gervonta Davis has his own promotional company called GTD, GDP, Gervonta Davis Productions. That's where you see like the emblem and all of that stuff. And it just makes me wonder whether or not, with his own promotional company, whether he's going to be stepping out and doing more of that stuff himself, or whether or not he's going to, really consistently stay within the Mayweather Promotions banner. Because I do believe that it is possible for him to still work with Floyd Mayweather and Leonard Ellerbe, but yet still work through his own promotional company, which I think, honestly, man, may be a really good deal for him. Because he seems like he is he is maturing very, very nicely. It did not seem like there's any type of animosity between him and Floyd Mayweather Jr., right? He said it in a way that was very, very, very complimentary of Floyd. It didn't sound like he was saying he wasn't getting the fights or any of those type of things. But, as a boxing fan and a fan of Gervonta Davis, because I do like Gervonta Davis as a fighter, been rooting for him for a while. Very, very talented fighter. I think one of the more underrated fighters in boxing, a guy that I don't think really gets his just due because of people always taking shots at him over the level of competition that he has. Now, when I say that people are taking shots at him, I got the gun in my hand too. I've said on more than a couple of occasions that, I would really like for Gervonta Davis to step up and start fighting some of these young black fighters or some slick fighters. And it just kind of seems like Gervonta Davis is not, if not stuck, but he just keeps kind of going through the same Mayweather. When Mayweather got his championship or got his contract with Showtime, I think maybe a 6 or 8 fight deal with Showtime, pretty much every fight was the same scenario. Pretty much everyone, where he fought kind of a flat-footed Latino fighter, really trying to push, the sales between the Latino fan base and the black fan base, as a way to, ensure that his fights did well monetarily. And that's a very, it's a very successful, is a very, very successful strategy, and it's one that people had used before. There are rivalries between Mexico and Puerto Rico, and so the rivalry between Floyd Mayweather Jr. and Latino fighters like Virgil Ortiz and Robert the Ghost Guerrero, and just pretty much you can go on. Juan Manuel Marquez, Jose Luis Castillo. He fought a lot of really great Mexican champions or he fought a lot of Mexican champions, and kind of, that is, where he made a lot of his money, along obviously with the Manny Pacquiao fight. So it seems like he's doing that with Gervonta Davis. What I'm hoping is that Gervonta Davis would go, at a certain point in time, now that he's 27, 28 years old, start having a little bit more say-so in his own career and the guys that he fights, right? Like Floyd Mayweather Jr. did when Floyd Mayweather Jr. hit in his 30s. And then as a result, then maybe we could then get to see some of the fights that people are saying that they want to see. Obviously, fights like Devin Haney, fights like Shakur Stevenson. I would say Teofimo Lopez, but Teofimo Lopez knocked himself out. Hopefully we'll be able, to get to see those. But but if we don't, in the short run, I think we will in the long run, because just by the way that Gervonta Davis is positioned, he is at the 135-pound weight limit, and I do not foresee him going much higher than that 135-pound weight division. So, like for example, with the with the WBA regular belt that he has, at a point in time, they're consolidating those belts and trying to get rid of all of the, most of the WBA champions. And that's why I think more than likely he's going to get ordered to fight the WBA super champion. And if he winds up becoming an undisputed champion, then he's probably going to have a situation where he fights these other guys. So, but I think that he also wants to do it. From what I can hear of him, he says, he talks like, yeah, I definitely want to fight this guy. Yeah, I'd like to fight this guy, but I don't pick my fights. I take the fights that's coming to me. At this point in time, he sounds a little bit like Terrence Crawford, where Terrence Crawford says he wants to get those guys, but, he's with Bob Arum and Top Rank, or he had been for several years. So there's only so many fights. He can only really get the fights that Top Rank is able to secure for him. He's not able to get whatever fight he wants. Bob Arum has to think the fight makes sense. It's got to kind of go along with the overall plan that Top Rank has for its finances and what in the direction it wants to take for the fighters under its umbrella, and whether or not Bob Arum is actually willing to split the pie with guys outside of it. So, Floyd Mayweather Jr. himself had said maybe about a little less than a year ago, it was after his last fight with Mario Barrios, with Gervonta Davis's last fight with Mario Barrios, that he said that they wanted to make, in-house fights. So in-house fights are going to be PBC fights. So the only real lightweights there are like I think Michelle Rivera would be available to him, but Devin Haney is Matchroom. Shakur Stevenson, if and when he moves up, or when he moves up, probably the more likely thing to say, when he moves up, is a Top Rank fighter. So I'm just not really sure if that's going to come unless Gervonta Davis really sticks his neck out and says, yeah, man, this is what I want to do. These are the guys that I want to fight. So him saying that he's doing his own like he doesn't have Floyd Mayweather Jr. sitting right on his shoulder talking for him, right? And, he's out in the media more, getting a lot better at speaking to the media. Hopefully that'll transition into him having more say-so on who he fights, so that we can really get these good fights, man. Because I know that Floyd Mayweather Jr. and Leonard Ellerbe, and I don't have an issue with what they're doing. With the logic of what they're doing from their point of view, they're trying to make the biggest fights possible, right? Well, as soon as one of these guys pop up, and the longer time goes, these fights with the guys we want to see are going to get bigger and bigger. And so the question will be, who is going to push the button and say, nah, we need to make that fight. So, with Gervonta Davis making advancements in his own promotion of himself with his own promotional company, hopefully that'll mean that he'll be willing to step out there and do that. But anyway, that's my take on the matter. You let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Peace.